What's the most ridiculous reason for which you've been dumped? I was dating a guy whose parents didn't like me. It was a long-distance relationship. And so we mostly chatted online but also made occasional phone calls. So we were talking on the phone. And at one point I said, "You shouldn't have to choose between me and your parents." The conversation continued. We decided to break up. We stayed friends. Something like 10 years later. We were talking online when the subject of our breakup came up. Turns out he thought I had said, "You should have to choose between me and your parents," and decided that he wasn't going to do that. I would never give someone that kind of ultimatum. That would be ridiculous. It blew my mind that a single misheard word caused us to break up. And we didn't realize it for 10 years. I'm not ready for a relationship. I thought it was a bad time to bring that up since we were engaged and had been together for almost 2 years. Edit. Almost 9K fake internet points may be the best thing I've ever gotten out of a breakup. Guess it all works out in the end. 16 years after the fact. Some good has come out of this. One of my exes dumped me saying that he wanted to be like Paul. From the Bible. She thought I killed her horse. It wasn't actually her horse. With voodoo, it hung itself. Because I was jealous, it was a horse. After going out with this guy for 6 months, I asked him if we were dating and he immediately ghosted me. Edit. Yes. We were both full-grown adults, late 20s. And yes, he had issues. Not me, but one of my friends who's a senior in high school got dumped by her boyfriend who she dated for almost 2 years. He dumped her because he didn't want to go to the school dance. A few days later he texted her to tell her that he wanted to get back together, but she declined. He could have just told her that he didn't want to go and still be her with her, or just go to the stupid dance. Twin complex? Her twin got jealous. She was the older sister of her twin sibling. They came from a conservative and sheltered family. I was her first boyfriend. She wasn't going to school, summer break, or have a working at that moment. When we first started going out, her younger twin sister would text her non-stop. Then she would make up excuses that her stomach hurts and ask her to come home. I tried to talk to her younger sister and she definitely made it seem like I was stealing her property away. I made a compromise with her to see her at least once a week. I was making time for her even though I was working full-time while she had no job, school. In the end, her sisters jealously made it impossible to develop any kind of healthy relationship with her. They were both 23 at the time, and would spend most of their time cosplaying, dressing up as anime characters. The weirdest part was they would often dress as the couples in the anime and even Photoshop themselves kissing, making out. So yay. I was attracted to her kindness. Since her sister was actually really caring person. But it turns out there was a reason why they never dated. Edit. Okay. So for those of you who are confused about what I meant by older twin, it's the twin that came out of their mom first during birth. If you are still confused, let me rewrite the story below by giving them fake names. Let's call the one I dated Mary and the other one Susan. Because Mary was born a few minutes earlier. She acts like the older sibling even though they are twins. Susan got jealous that I started dating her twin sister Mary. They came from a conservative and sheltered family. I was Mary's first boyfriend. Mary wasn't going to school because it was summer break. She also wasn't working. When I first started going out with Mary, Susan would text her non-stop. Susan would make up excuses that her stomach hurts and ask Mary to come home. I tried to talk to Susan and she made it seem like I was stealing Mary away from her. I made a compromise with Mary to see her at least once a week. I was making time for Mary even though I was working full-time while she had no job, school. In the end, Susan's jealously made it impossible for Mary and I to develop any kind of healthy relationship. They were both 23 at the time, and would spend most of their time cosplaying, dressing up as anime characters. The weirdest part was they would often dress as the couples in the anime and even Photoshop themselves kissing, making out. So yay. I was attracted to Mary's kindness, since she was actually really caring person. But it turns out there was a reason why they both never dated. I hope that was clearer for people who have trouble understanding. Second edit for those of you who are still confused about the older twin. Please look up a cartoon called Johnny Test. In the cartoon, there happens to be twin sisters called Mary and Susan. I happen to use their name here completely by coincidence. Look up who is older, Susan or Mary Test. And in the description, they refer to Mary as Marionette Louise Mary. Test is one of the two protagonists of Johnny Test. She is the eldest of the two twins. So please use that cartoon as reference if you are still confused. My boyfriend broke up with me because he was moving away to go to puppet school. God told me not to date you. I'm sorry. And guess what? This happened twice. With two different girls. When I was 12 we played spin the bottle and I made a kissy moi sound before we kissed. An hour later she sent her best friend to my soccer game to break up with me. Dumped. Might be extreme. But on a first date, girl asked me to go buy her popcorn literally as the movie started. So I did. Whispered as I was getting up. You want butter on that? Brought it back and she says, is there butter on this? I said, yes. I asked and you said, yeah. And she said, no. I specifically said, nah. I thought she was joking or something. It was like a Seinfeld bit. So I said, well, maybe this just isn't going to work out. And she said, I think you're right. Thanks for nothing. And left. But she took my popcorn. She should have thanked me for that. Ugh. My ex's cat was named Ben. The girl I was dating's cat was named Bundles. One day, I called Bundles Ben. She asked me what I just called her cat. I thought about it, and then remembered that was my ex's cat's name. I laughed and told her and she was super unimpressed. Broke up with me the next day. I don't feel a spark of anything when we kiss anymore. At that time I got hit in the mouth with a bat and couldn't kiss her for the past month. If you didn't want to be with me, just say it, or at least come up with a better lie to dump me over. We have to break up. I mean, we can't even get married. You're allergic to fish. She chose the occasional tuna sandwich over me. I laughed and still tell the story, so I guess it's a win. He dumped me because I cheated on him. In his dream. I said love you. She got mad I forgot the I. Apparently, we didn't come from the same planet? On the surface, it sounded okay. My GF and I were kinda fizzling out. But when she dumped me, she said it was because I was not religious enough. She wanted to go to church every Sunday and for major religious holidays. I was okay with her going, but I was conflicted about religion at the time, so I didn't want to go. So that is what she said when she dumped me. Seems like a decent reason. What made it ridiculous is that about 6 months later, she was dating the president of the college atheist group. I love you so much and want to spend the rest of my life with you. We have to break up. If it's really meant to be, then we will end up together again like they do in the movies. Dated a chick in my early 20s. We partied a lot at the time. One night I refused to get into her car and go for the drive home since we were obliterated. She got upset. Said, you this guy, I'll be fine on my own. Receive a call from her 36 hours later. She'd been bailed out of jail already. This guy. You are a. It's your fault I went to jail. I am breaking up with you. I hung up and giggled. I'm a Gemini. I was too clingy. She got mad every time I hung out with anyone that wasn't her. I wish I still had the text. Long story short, she was mad I didn't grab her in public on our first date. We were 14 and I wore a tank top for the first time in his presence. Turned out I had way more cleavage than he was comfortable with and he dumped me over the phone. Made a girl smile too much. She had braces and it cut up the inside of her mouth. She found out the truck I was driving was owned by my mom. Shared this before here. But this has and will always take the cake for me. College GF's dad won $1 million in the state lottery over winter break. Broke up with me over the phone. Telling me, now that I'm rich, I can't afford to date regular people like you. That's really the only thing wrong. You're just regular. The girl told me she thought this boy who she had a crush on for a long time was gonna ask her out. She said this to me. The guy the first was dating broke up with me cause he had family problems. I was all like, I'm so sorry. I'm here if you need me. 2 days later I find out he lied and asked out one of my best friends and she said yes. About a week later I asked him why he dumped me and he left me on read. Apparently I gave her too much anxiety when I bought her a coffee that one morning and she broke up with me the same week. Edit. I gave her the drink in front of my locker in high school before class started. But I didn't buy her a coffee, it was a hot chocolate. Where I'm from in Canada, getting someone a coffee can mean just any drink. I got her a hot chocolate cause she was a picky eater and didn't like coffee or tea. But I liked her and wanted to surprise her with a warm drink on that cold day.